computer. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming to mediation. I appreciate you taking your time to participate and talk about your issues. Just for introductions, my name is Mike Solons. I think we exchanged some emails last night, and we have Lee Smith, or how do you prefer to be called? It's okay
Yeah,
for
you can
Lee?
call me Lee. That's fine.
Okay. And Dale Jones. Dale, what do you prefer? Mr. Jones, Dale?
Dale is okay.
Dale is okay. And feel free to call me Mike. So once again, thanks for coming. Appreciate you guys being here. We're using this latest technology, Zoom, so it has its advantages and of course its disadvantages. But we're scheduled here from 9 to 12. I'll try and wrap up around 11:45 in case we're getting close on an agreement. That'll give us time to memorialize and finalize things. If it looks like we're getting close and you guys want to go longer, we could certainly do that. I'm open to that. And also we'll take breaks at 1 hour intervals. So give you guys a chance to get up and stretch your legs, maybe grab a power bar and clear your head a little bit. I sent each of you a mediation agreement last night, and I believe you should have it. I'll just put it up on the screen just real quick. Did both of you get this agreement last night?
Yes,
Yeah.
I got it in my email.
Okay, great. As I'm talking here, maybe just give it one last look over, and in a couple minutes, I'll ask you to sign that. And if you have any questions, we can go over and review those as well. As far as the mediation process and my role, I'm an independent, third party. I'm not aware. Before last night, I haven't met either of you. I don't have a vested interest in what's going on. My role is to facilitate and help you guys come to hopefully some common ground or some agreement. The process is completely voluntary. If either of you or both decide, hey, this is not working for me, we can stop the mediation. I just ask if you do decide to stop the mediation that you caucus with me and at least let me know what's going on. I want to make sure I'm doing my job right. So if you do want to end, like I said, it is voluntary. The purpose is to explore your issues and facilitate conversation and maybe help come to some common agreement. I just ask that you each be open, honest, and at times flexible because we are trying to come to some settlement here. I'll ask each of you in a couple of minutes to give your side of the story, and it'll be 10 or 15 minutes. And just keep in mind when the other person is talking, let's let the person who's talking go uninterrupted. We'll have plenty of time for debate further on, but I need to glean all the information from you guys, and I'll be taking some notes. So let's just let that one person start uninterrupted. Mediation is confidential to the extent, I'm going to assume that everything is confidential unless either or both of you tell me otherwise. If we come to some agreement and you want that shared in the workplace, I'm happy to do that. But if nothing's said, I'm going to treat this as confidential. The other exception to the confidentiality rules is if there are any threats to bodily harm or abuse of a senior citizen or minor child. So those are just the exceptions to the confidentiality rule. Lastly, we are on Zoom. I know we're all sitting at our desktops and there's always a temptation to pop open an email or answer a text. I just ask that everybody give their 100% attention and just let's leave that aside. And when we take the breaks, that'll be your chance to reconnect with the outside world. And I think it'll get a better result because sometimes when people are talking, it interrupts the flow of a text or a ding or something comes in. And lastly, if we get to an impasse, we also have the option, if either of you are not comfortable talking in front of the other, we can caucus and meet privately. And if we do that and I meet with one of you, I will also meet with the other one separately. And we have that option available if it becomes heated or we can't, if we have an impasse. So all that being said, let's take a pause. I just want to know if both of you have any questions or comments, or if you're okay with these guidelines. Is there anything on your mind before we start? Lee?
No, they're fine with me. I understand how this works.
Dale?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. All right, so I'm just going to ask if you don't mind, and if you don't have any questions on the mediation agreement, I'd ask you to sign that, and that'll be our consent to start. So, and you can sign it and just email it to me. That'll be fine. So, all right. Would either of you like to start? Dale, I think you had the complaint in the workplace, but I'm fine with either of you starting.
Yeah, I can start.
Because he just flipped out at me, and I'd like to hear why.
Okay, well, we are gonna hear that, and we're gonna let Dale tell the side of the story, and you're gonna get to tell your side of the story as well. So, okay, Dale.
Yeah, so as I was saying, I have worked at the county office for almost 30 years now. Started at the bottom, worked my way up to get the promotion up to senior management team. And I stayed and I worked really hard, and I got there, for a reason. And it's been a really great place to work. I've really enjoyed it. And then, the past year or so since Lee was hired, it's just been all of a sudden there's like all this noise and, singing in the background, and just we have a shared space in the table to do work, to spread out our blueprints. And that's, valuable space when you're working on a huge blueprint. And all of a sudden there's just food all over the place. And, I've tried to just let this stuff go. I know other people have really enjoyed it, enjoyed the energy, but when I come back from a meeting and find that these blueprints that I've spent hours on have like sushi juice all over them, it's a little hard for me to be accepting of that. That is my work. That is something I put a lot of time and effort in, and I need to take that to the client, and all of a sudden I can't without it smelling like fish. And I think that's unprofessional. I think it's discourteous. And to say that, maybe Lee just doesn't understand because this is Lee's first job. But this is not a professional way to act towards others, or a courteous way. So.
Okay. Well, if I understand you, it sounds like you've been there a long time and really have worked hard to achieve your status at the company, and certainly you probably have a great reputation. But the disturbance to the work area seems to me to be your biggest issue, and the lack of professionalism. And it's kind of seems like it's kind of upset your world a little bit. And is that kind of what is that? Did I kind of get your story right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay. All right, good. Well, thanks. Thanks for sharing that. Lee, why don't you tell us what's going on your end?
So I guess I guess I'm still kind of confused, but I am sorry. The food on the blueprints, like, yep, I totally understand. That was my bad. I should have moved them. My arms were full, and so like the office has gotten into just this communal, it's open space, and we really are all getting into this vibe where we can share food and share time, and it's brainstorming, and it's a lot of what I did in my MBA, with the way that we learn to be collegial and cooperative in these new work environments. And so, yeah, I really my arms were full, and people were going to try this eel that I brought for the first time. And I really wasn't thinking. That was thoughtless. And I completely apologize for the blueprints. I just should have cleared them away. But I can't think that we're ending up in mediation over sushi. So I just feel like there has to be more to this, because, it is my first job, but it's an open environment. It's an open space. It's not cubicles. We're not supposed to be in our own spaces. We're supposed to be sharing, and we're supposed to be collegial. And I just feel like I'm hitting it off with everybody, but clearly I'm doing something wrong with Dale. And if it's about, the fish, I apologize.
Well, first of all, that's really big. The apology is important, and I'm sure Dale sees it that way. So that was really nice of you to do that. And it sounds to me like your approach may be maybe a different approach than Dale's. It sounds like your background taught you to work in a more congenial environment and be collegial with your peers, and probably you feel that the open space is more of a communal space. So, and it sounds like you're a little upset about the argument over what you perceive as something small like sushi. It sounds like you're just upset that it got blown out of proportion.
Well, it was, it was embarrassing to be kind of yelled at by one of the senior members in front of everybody over lunch. And, I was embarrassed and I left. And, I guess it would have been right to come back and apologize then instead of letting it all turn into this whole, mountain of a molehill situation.
You felt a little embarrassment, a little shame over something that in your mind was a little trivial. Okay. Well, good. That was a great opening. I think if you want to move to the next phase, you each can help me develop a list of topics that are the most important to you, and I'll write them down, and then we can kind of narrow down the focus of our dispute by discussing the most important things. So maybe I'll just throw one out there. It seems like communication is one issue that, it seems, Dale, you've been holding it in a little bit, and Lee, maybe you didn't realize, but do you think communication is something we need to discuss as a topic list agenda item?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think so. I just avoid him because he seems.
I lost your audio a little bit there. Are you still there, Lee? Your screen froze.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, so you're avoiding them. What do you hope to achieve by mediation today? What would be the number one topic that you would want to try and resolve with Dale?
I mean, I would like it to not feel uncomfortable. Seems like, Dale's been there the longest, and it's kind of, he does what he does, and just kind of do the live and let live thing. If he wants to talk to me and work with me, that would be great. And if he doesn't, then, I guess we kind of have to define our spaces and see how that's going to work.
So it seems to me there's just, and I'm going to share the screen. Can you both see what I'm typing up here?
Mm-hmm.
On the topic list agenda. It seems to me it's just a little bit of different in style. So maybe one of the topics is, how do we treat the open space, the open working space environment? Because it seems like Dale, you have one idea of how it goes, and Lee, I think you have a different idea. So does that seem like to be a topic that you want to discuss as far as how we treat the open space area? Lee, is that?
Oh, yeah, that's fine with me. I'm sorry, I thought we were waiting for Dale.
Dale, what do you think?
I mean, yes, that's obviously important, but I think it's more that Lee needs to change her behavior to be more professional and realize that she's an adult in a professional job and can no longer just sing show tunes all day long.
So if I can summarize that, is that attitudes in the workplace? Or is it more decorum in the workplace?
I think it's both.
Okay. This question for either of you: are there rules in the office about where you're allowed to eat? Has there ever been anything in place like that?
I mean, we have a kitchen.
Okay.
It's usually where people work or at their desks, but not at the shared space where there are important papers.
Okay. So you have a kitchen with a table and a chairs where you can eat lunch. Okay. What else is on either of your minds that you want to kind of talk about today that we can resolve? We have communication. How do we treat the open working environment? Attitudes and decorum in the workplace, and where should people eat? Is there anything else that's on your minds that we should put on the topic list to discuss?
I mean, I I think you're supposed to enjoy where you work. I mean, my parents are always told me, find something you love to do and find somebody to pay you for it. That's the key to happiness. So, you know, attitude and decorum, and where should you eat, and don't sing. I just, I think there has to be something about what the company values, maybe, and how that jives with the people who work there.
It sounds like you really feel like you want to be part of a team environment. Is that an accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I chose this company on purpose, and they hired me. I'm part of the management team. I've joined everything that I can get involved with there because they have a great culture and they're really open, and they've grown so much, even though they're not a new company. And that's exactly what I was looking for, someplace progressive that, had history, but was not stagnant.
Okay. Dale, is there anything else you want to add?
I mean, I think there's a big difference between enjoying your work and just not working, first of all.
Singing doesn't mean I'm not working.
You're singing all day and then bringing food out and running out like 3 times a day for breakfast and then lunch and then dessert.
I get my
Some
job
of us are just trying to get our work done.
That I've ever worked with. It's
all right.
done.
Let's take a short time out, and we have plenty of time to debate that. And I can tell both of you are very passionate about the workplace. What I want to try and do is just let's narrow down the topic list agenda, and then we'll get into some specifics. What I have down so far is communication. How do we treat the open working environment? Attitudes and decorum in the workplace. Where should people eat their meals? Is it the kitchen or in the open space? And also the overall congeniality and positive working environment. Are those kind of the 5 hot button issues? Do I have those right? Or is there anything either of you want to add? How about in order? What's the most, Lee, what's the most important item in your mind at work? Is it it sounds to me like it's congeniality and positive working environment, but I don't want to answer for you. What do you think?
That would be first. And I think communication also should be right up there at the top.
Okay. Dale, what do you think as far as the priorities? Is that, I mean, we're not saying we're going to establish everything, but is the working environment probably the thing that's bothering you the most, or the most important item to discuss?
I mean, I think the working environment is important because it's where we need to get work done. Okay. And I think it's important establishing like what are the boundaries we have to make it conducive for all of us to do that. And currently that's not the case.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take off the screen share here for a sec, and we could start diving right into the agenda here before we take a break. But let's talk about the congeniality and the positivity of the working environment. Dale, you've been there a lot longer. What's your takeaway of how the work environment has been, and maybe ways you can improve it so that there aren't conflicts like this in the future?
I mean, I think right now it's just that it doesn't have to be a party all day long. Like I need the space to be able to do my work and to be able to think. And right now when it's just loud all the time and there's just like food on the table when I need to do my blueprint, like either I have to wait and then go clean it off, or I'm getting food spilled on my blueprints. I mean, there's like a period of time where people need to get work done. And if, I don't know, you still want to be in college, maybe that's where you should be. But there needs to be some recognition of like, you know, that's what happy hours are for. That's why people go out after work.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a discussion about respect. I mean, I went to college and got a master's degree, and I've done an enormous amount of work to know what I know and be where I am. And I just, I feel like you drag me into mediation because you feel like I'm being unprofessional, and then you're calling me a child. And I'm 25, I'm not 16. And I think we're supposed to be respectful.
Okay. It sounds like you're both really passionate about this issue, which I totally respect. But as far as the open areas, so both of you can work in those open areas in those tables. As a starting point, can either of you or both of you suggest a way? Let's talk about the food issue first, because obviously some plans got somewhat marred, and I know engineering prints are very sophisticated and detailed, and obviously having food on them is not good. Lee, can you suggest a way or think of a way to kind of resolve, that the common areas don't get disturbed with food, or that plans don't get ruined? Is there anything that you might suggest to kind of help that?
Can I reserve a table to use once a week so that we can do our communal lunch? Because we don't fit in the kitchen. If I'm going to open it up to the whole office, and then, some people from the management team that I've become friendly with, they're on different floors. So
you're suggesting that the main table in the lunchroom be open to somewhat of a reservation system, where maybe once a week you can have an hour where you and everybody in the company, or the people who want to eat with you, get to eat in the open area. Is that kind of?
No, it's not even, it's like 30 minutes. I mean, we just bring in some really good food, and we try different things that people recommended, different, Thai food. Or
it sounds to me like you really value the camaraderie at work, and you feel that that's important, that you'd be able to come together and eat together.
Well, the basis of what we do is sharing ideas. So sometimes when you share ideas over food, you share your food ideas, and it leads to discussions, or you find out things that people like. If this one's a little spicy, maybe they'd be open to something a little more, innovative with their architecture. It's just kind of the personality thing of trying to get to know people.
Okay. Dale, what do you think about that? I mean, would you be amenable or open to considering like some type of reservation time once a week to the common area where everybody can get together to eat? I'm not sure if that's where your interests lie, but would you be open to something like that? Maybe once a week, where they can say, we're gonna do Friday's lunch at the table for an hour. And what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, there are also conference rooms. There was a period of time where like people would do birthday parties and they would reserve the conference room when needed. And at least there's a door so that anyone who wants to continue working or needs to continue working can, have the space to do so.
Wouldn't you rather just take your bag lunch and like eat down by the fountain once a week?
I mean, can't you go down by the fountain once a week?
It's not about, I have 15 people who want to do this, and you're one person who doesn't. So we need to change.
Well, let me ask a question. Lee, I know you're very passionate about this, and I appreciate it. But Dale, which is the area more conducive to people like kind of having their lunch? Is the conference room a better area, or is it the open area that's a better area? How big is the conference room? Is it good for this?
I mean, the conference room can fit like 20 to 25 people, and it's got like a huge table on there.
Oh, it's big. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not like, and you can reserve it. And sometimes there are, days full of meetings, but there are certainly times where you can reserve lunch. I mean, to like reserve an hour, if I'm like in the middle of a blueprint, all of a sudden I have to stop. because
it interrupts your workflow, right?
yeah, and that, like, I'm not the only one. It's not like everybody else in the office is going to this every single week. Like, a lot of people enjoy it, but there are also like deadlines that people have to meet.
So Lee, I see your interest in, you put a high value on the camaraderie at work. Do you think you can accomplish the same type of camaraderie and get together if you reserved a lunch in the conference room as opposed to out in the open area where all the plans and the work takes place? Sorry, we lost the video. I lost the audio. Are you there?
30 years, he's been who he is a lot longer than I've been who I am. So I guess, I'm the one that needs to be flexible here, and I'll, sure.
Okay. So you express your willingness to be flexible and maybe consider that. And do you feel that'll accomplish your objective of the camaraderie? I don't want you to also sacrifice that. Do you feel that'll satisfy your audio cut out a little before? That's why I'm just repeating a little bit.
Oh, sorry. I'm just deference to somebody who's been in the company for 30 years and clearly is, kind of set in what works for them. We'll try something different. It's, I was hired into a place that literally built their office in an open concept with this value of an environment of collegiality.
Okay.
And if
I see
really
both of you.
This, then we'll try to manage to make it another way.
Okay. Well, I see you both being a little flexible. I think Dale is open to the company kind of get-togethers with you and the camaraderie, and you being flexible somewhat in that any kind of company lunches, whatever will occur in the conference room, not in the public area.
If they won't fit in the kitchen. I mean, we can still use the kitchen, right?
Dale, what do you think? What are your thoughts about also using the kitchen? I think your concern and what I hear you saying is that you don't like it in the open public areas because it disturbs your workflow.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely my larger concern. It's just like, we need to have the work environment so that people can do work. And then, if people want to eat lunch or do some sort of celebration, like, just let other people continue to be able to work. Show some collegial spirit in the fact that some people are going to do work while others are going to party.
Okay. So it sounds like your real value belief is that you need quiet time to get your work done. I know you're a very seasoned experience, and that goes with it's a testament to how long you've been there, but it sounds like you really value the quiet time, and you're not too concerned if the lunch get together happens in the private room. You're okay as long as you're not hearing it. Does that sound right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. That's a lot of good work. I think we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk a bit about the communication and how we let everybody know where the lunch get together is, and eating in the lunchroom, and how we do that, whether we go to a whiteboard. But why don't we take a 10-minute break here, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about communication. How's that sound?
I think we need to talk about the definition of a party also, because I
think that'll go towards down on the list, the attitudes and decorum in the workplace. So yeah, we will get to that.
You were living in a dorm room versus an office, I think, is it needs a conversation also.
Okay. All right. Why don't we take a short break, and then we'll come back and talk about those things. Okay, great.